I was standing at my husband's funeral when my best friend leaned over the casket and whispered, "Thank you for raising my children." That's when I knew I had to destroy her. My name is Margaret Hayes. I'm 58 years old. And until that September morning when I buried my husband of 32 years, I thought I knew everything about my life. I was wrong. So completely, devastatingly wrong. The funeral home smelled of lilies and wood polish, that sickly sweet combination that makes you feel like you're suffocating. David looked peaceful in his casket, dressed in the navy suit I'd picked out. The same suit he wore to our daughter Emma's college graduation. The same suit he wore to our son Jacob's wedding. His hands were folded across his chest, and someone had placed a single red rose between his fingers. He looked exactly like the devoted husband and father he'd always been. Or so I thought. The room was packed with over 200 people. David had been beloved in our community for 3 decades. He'd run the local hardware store, Hayes Hardware, right on Main Street since we moved to Riverside in 1991. He always had a kind word for everyone, always willing to stay late to help someone fix a leaky faucet or explain the difference between wood screws and drywall screws. Old Mrs. Peterson said he once drove to her house at 10 p.m. to help her replace a broken pipe. The Martinez family said he gave them supplies on credit when they were struggling. People loved him. I loved him. We all did. Rebecca stood next to me throughout the entire viewing, gripping my hand so tightly my fingers were going numb. My best friend since our sophomore year at Boston University in 1985. My maid of honor at my wedding. Emma and Jacob's godmother. The woman I'd trusted with every secret, every fear, every joy for 35 years. The woman who'd held my hand through 2 miscarriages before Emma was born. The woman who'd helped me pick out my wedding dress, who'd been there when my mother died, who knew me better than anyone. Or so I thought. "I don't know how you're still standing," she whispered to me as people filed past the casket. Her mascara was running in black streaks down her face. Her hands were shaking so badly, she could barely hold the tissue she kept pressing to her eyes. I thought it was grief. Now I know it was guilt. Pure, choking guilt. The service was beautiful, exactly what David would have wanted. Pastor Williams from First Methodist spoke about David's generosity, his dedication to family, his quiet strength. He told stories I'd heard 100 times. David coaching Little League, even though he knew nothing about baseball. David organizing the town's Christmas toy drive every year for 20 years. David staying up all night to help rebuild the community center after the fire in 2015. Emma read a poem she'd written the night before, her voice breaking every few words. My father taught me that love is shown in small moments. In pancakes on Saturday mornings. In helping with math homework even when he was exhausted. In showing up every single day no matter what. She could barely finish, and Jacob had to help her back to her seat. Jacob shared a story about learning to ride a bike when he was 7. How David ran alongside him for hours in the hot summer sun, never complaining, never giving up, until Jacob finally got it. "He taught me that the people who love you never let you fall alone," Jacob said, his voice steady despite the tears on his face. I sat in the front pew numb, my mind blank with shock. David had died so suddenly. A massive heart attack at 60, no warning signs, no chance to say goodbye. He'd been at the hardware store, helping a customer choose paint colors, when he just collapsed. Gone before the ambulance even arrived. The doctor said it was probably instant, that he didn't suffer. But I was suffering. The weight of his absence was crushing. Rebecca sat beside me the entire time, her arm around my shoulders. She'd barely left my side since the moment she got the call about David's death. She'd come straight to the hospital, had held me while I sobbed, had handled calls to family members when I couldn't speak. She'd helped Emma and Jacob plan the funeral because I couldn't focus on anything. She'd stayed at my house every night for a week, sleeping in the guest room, making sure I ate, making sure I showered. "I'm here," she kept saying. "I'm not going anywhere. We'll get through this together. You're not alone, Margaret. You'll never be alone." Now I understand she was saying goodbye to both of us. To David, and to the friendship she knew was about to end. After the service, there was that awkward moment when everyone files past the casket one last time. A final goodbye. I stood at the head, accepting condolences, shaking hands, accepting hugs from people whose faces I couldn't even focus on. Everyone said the same things. He was such a good man. You were so lucky to have him. He loved you so much. What a wonderful father. Each word was a knife. Rebecca approached last. She'd been hanging back, helping Emma coordinate the reception at our house. She'd ordered the food, arranged for tables and chairs, organized everything because that's what Rebecca did. She was always the organized one, the one who took charge, the one who solved problems. She walked up to the casket slowly, her face crumpling. Her shoulders shook with sobs. She placed her hand on David's folded hands, touching his wedding ring, and leaned down close to his face. I thought she was going to kiss his forehead. That's what most people had done. That's when I heard it. Thank you for raising my children. The words were so soft, barely a whisper, meant only for David's dead ears. If I'd been standing anywhere else, if there'd been anyone else nearby, I would have missed them. But I was right there, just 2 feet away. Right there. I froze. My blood turned to ice. The room seemed to tilt on its axis. Everything went silent except for those 5 words echoing in my head. Thank you for raising my children. What children? Rebecca had never been married. She'd never had kids. She'd always said she was married to her career as a successful corporate lawyer. She'd said she wasn't cut out for motherhood, that she admired me for being such a dedicated mom, but it wasn't for her. She was the cool aunt to Emma and Jacob, the one who sent expensive birthday presents and took them on trips to New York and Boston. The one who taught Emma about fashion and took Jacob to his first baseball game at Fenway Park. No, it couldn't be. But as I stood there, my mind started racing through years of memories, seeing them all in a new, horrible light. Emma's green eyes. I'd always wondered where she got them. My eyes are brown. David's were brown. We'd joked about recessive genes. But Rebecca's eyes are green. Jacob's left-handedness. No one in my family or David's family is left-handed. But Rebecca is. The way David always insisted on being the one to take Emma to her pediatrician appointments. You work so hard, he'd say. Let me handle this. The business trips David took, sometimes 2 or 3 times a month. Rebecca traveled constantly for her law firm. Had they been traveling together? Rebecca straightened up, saw me staring at her with what must have been a look of absolute horror, and her face went absolutely white. All the color drained away. Her eyes went wide. Her mouth opened, but no sound came out. For one terrible, endless second, we just looked at each other. She knew that I'd heard. I knew that she knew I'd heard. The entire truth passed between us in that moment of eye contact. Then she quickly turned away, nearly stumbling, and hurried out of the room. I watched her go, watched her push past the confused funeral director, watched her practically run to her car in the parking lot. I stood there, my mind racing but my body completely still. People were talking to me, I think. I remember seeing mouths moving, but I couldn't hear anything over the roaring in my ears. Emma appeared at my side, her face full of concern. Mom, are you okay? You look like you're going to faint. Here, sit down. She tried to guide me to a chair, but I couldn't move. My legs felt like they were made of stone. I'm fine, I said automatically, even though I was the furthest thing from fine. I would never be fine again. You're shaking. Jacob, come here. Something's wrong with Mom. Jacob rushed over, and together they helped me to a chair in the corner. Someone brought me water. Someone else fanned me with a program. Everyone thought I was overcome with grief. They were right, but not in the way they thought. The reception at our house was torture. Our large colonial on Elm Street was packed with people, all of them eating the catered food Rebecca had ordered, drinking wine, sharing David's stories. The house I'd decorated myself, room by room, over 30 years. The garden I'd planted. The kitchen I'd remodeled 5 years ago. My sanctuary. Now it felt like a stage for the world's cruelest performance. People kept telling me what a wonderful man David was. How lucky I was to have had him. How he'd left such a beautiful legacy in Emma and Jacob. All I could do was smile and nod while those 5 words echoed in my head. Thank you for raising my children. Rebecca stayed close to me the entire time, playing the devoted best friend. She brought me food I couldn't eat. She refilled my wine glass. She ran interference when someone was talking to me too long. She was perfect. Attentive. Caring. Supportive. But every time our eyes met, she looked away quickly. And I noticed her hands were trembling so badly, she could barely hold her wine glass. She spilled wine on my cream-colored couch at one point, and looked like she might cry. "I'm so sorry," she kept saying. "I'm so clumsy today. I'm so sorry." She kept apologizing for the wrong things. I needed to know. I needed to understand what those words meant. But I also needed to be smart about this. If what I was beginning to suspect was true, and with every passing minute, I became more certain it was, I couldn't just confront her. I needed proof. I needed evidence. I needed to know the full extent of the betrayal before I made any moves. That night, after everyone left and Emma and Jacob went back to their own homes, Emma to her apartment downtown where she worked as a graphic designer, Jacob to the house he shared with his wife Sarah and their new baby, I sat alone in David's study. The room that had always been his private space. His sanctuary. Dark wood paneling, floor-to-ceiling bookshelves, his old leather chair, his mahogany desk. The smell of his cologne still hung in the air. His reading glasses were still on the desk, next to a book about the history of hardware stores that I'd never really gone through his things before. He'd kept his files organized, his desk neat. "This is my domain," he'd always say with a laugh. "You have the rest of the house." I'd thought it was charming, his little private space. Now I understood it was where he kept his secrets. I started with his desk drawers. The top drawer had pens, paper clips, stamps. The second drawer had bills, all paid and filed by date. Receipts from the hardware store. Old letters from his mother before she died. Nothing unusual. But then I found a locked metal box in the bottom drawer, hidden under a stack of old tax returns. It was about the size of a shoebox made of heavy steel with a combination lock. I'd never noticed it before. But then I'd never really looked. I spent an hour searching for a key or a combination, growing increasingly frantic. I tore through every drawer, every file, every book on the shelves. Nothing. Finally, I sat on the floor, exhausted, and looked up at the desk from below. That's when I saw it. A small piece of paper taped underneath the center drawer, like something out of a spy movie. The combination, April 18th, 91. April 18th, 1991. The day Emma was born. My hands shook as I entered the numbers. The lock clicked open. Inside were letters. Dozens of letters, all addressed to David, all in Rebecca's handwriting. Her distinctive, elegant script. They were arranged by date, oldest to newest. He'd kept every single one. I opened the first one, dated from 3 months after Jacob was born in 1995. "My dearest David, I can't stop thinking about last night. I know we said this was wrong, but being with you feels like the only right thing in my life. Margaret suspects nothing. But every time I look at our baby, I see your eyes staring back at me. He has your smile. I watch you hold him, watch you pretend to be the doting godfather, and I want to scream the truth to the world. But we can't. We have to protect Margaret. She's been through so much with the miscarriages. She's so happy now. I can't take that from her. But God, David, I wish things were different. I wish he could call you Daddy. I wish I could wake up next to you every morning. I love you. Always. R. The letter fell from my hands. I felt like I'd been punched in the stomach. My lungs couldn't seem to take in air. I forced myself to keep reading. Letter after letter, year after year. An affair that had started in 1989, just 6 years into my marriage. Meetings in hotels when Rebecca came to town. David's fishing trips with college buddies. Late nights at hardware store inventory. Lies upon lies upon lies. And children. 2 children. The letter from January 1991. David, I'm pregnant again. I know we said Jacob would be the only one, but I couldn't help it. I want another piece of you. Margaret has been talking about trying for a second baby. If we time this right, Jacob and Emma, my babies. The children I'd carried, birthed, raised, loved with every fiber of my being. The children I'd gotten up with in the middle of the night. The children I'd nursed through illnesses and heartbreaks. The children I'd taught to read, to swim, to ride bikes. The children I'd watched grow into remarkable adults. They weren't mine. Not biologically. They were Rebecca's. I ran to the bathroom and vomited until there was nothing left. Then I lay on the cold tile floor and sobbed until my throat was raw. But I couldn't fall apart. Not yet. I needed more proof. I needed to be absolutely certain. As much as these letters pointed to the horrible truth, I needed scientific confirmation. The next morning, I called Dr. Morrison, our family physician who'd been treating us for 20 years. I need DNA tests. I said, my voice surprisingly steady. For Emma, Jacob, and myself. I need to know if they're biologically mine. There was a long pause. Margaret, are you sure? This is a difficult time. Maybe you should wait. I'm sure. I need to know. Please, Dr. Morrison. He sighed. All right. I'll set it up. But Margaret, whatever the results show, it doesn't change that you're their mother. You know that, right? I hung up without answering because I didn't know that anymore. I didn't know anything. The tests took 3 weeks to process. 3 weeks of pretending everything was normal. 3 weeks of going through the motions of grief, while a much deeper horror was eating me alive. 3 weeks of having coffee with Rebecca 3 times a week. She kept showing up at my door with bagels and newspapers, settling in at my kitchen table like she'd done 1,000 times before. I'm worried about you, she'd say. You seem distant. I know you're grieving, but I feel like you're pulling away from me too. The audacity. The sheer, breathtaking audacity. I'm fine, I'd say. Just processing everything. She'd reach across the table and squeeze my hand. I'm here for you. Always. You're like a sister to me, Margaret. I love you. Every word was poison. 3 weeks of lying to Emma and Jacob about why I suddenly needed their DNA. It's for insurance purposes, I said. Your father had a policy that requires it. I know it seems weird, but the insurance company is insisting. They believed me. Why wouldn't they? I'd never lied to them before. The envelope arrived on a Tuesday. I saw it in the mailbox when I got home from the grief counseling session Rebecca had insisted I attend. You need professional help to process this, she'd said. If only she knew what I was really processing. I sat alone in my living room with the envelope in my hands for an hour before I could open it. The afternoon sun streamed through the windows, dust motes dancing in the light. Everything looked normal. The same furniture, the same photos on the walls, the same life I'd built. But nothing would ever be the same again. I opened the envelope. Results of DNA analysis. Margaret Hayes and Emma Hayes. Probability of maternity. 0% Margaret Hayes and Jacob Hayes. Probability of maternity, 0%. Negative. No biological relationship between Margaret Hayes and either child. I sat there, staring at those words until they blurred. Part of me had hoped the letters were fake, that I'd misunderstood Rebecca's whisper, that there was some other explanation. But no, it was all true. I called Rebecca. My voice was steady, almost eerily calm. Can you come over? I need to talk to you. Of course. Is everything okay? You sound strange. Just come over. Please. She arrived within an hour, concern written all over her face. She was wearing jeans and a sweater, her hair pulled back in a ponytail. She looked younger than 58, barely any gray in her hair, her skin still smooth. She'd aged well. Better than me, certainly. I'd aged overnight these past 3 weeks. What's wrong? She asked, sitting on my couch. You sounded so strange on the phone. I handed her the DNA results without a word. I watched the color drain from her face as she read. Her hands started shaking. Margaret, how long? My voice was surprisingly calm. Deadly calm. We never meant. How long? She sank deeper into the chair, the paper falling from her hands. When she spoke, her voice was barely a whisper. 26 years. I had been married to David for 32 years. Which meant the affair started 6 years after our wedding. 6 years of what I thought was happiness. And then he started betraying me. The whole time, I said. Jacob, Emma. They're both yours. Tears streamed down her face. I wanted to tell you so many times. Every single day. But David said, he said it would destroy the family. He said you'd been through so much with the miscarriages, that you were so happy being a mother. He said we couldn't take that from you. He loved you, Margaret. He really did. He loved both of us. I laughed. It was a harsh, bitter sound that didn't even sound like it came from me. He loved me so much he spent 26 years sleeping with my best friend and passing off her children as mine. It wasn't like that. Then what was it like, Rebecca? Explain it to me. Make me understand. Because I'm trying very hard to comprehend how 2 people I trusted more than anyone in the world could do this to me. How you could hold my hand through 2 miscarriages, knowing you could get pregnant by my husband whenever you wanted. How you could watch me raise your children and never say a word. She couldn't answer. She just sat there, crying, mascara running down her face just like at the funeral. Did you love him? I asked. Yes. God help me, yes. More than you loved me? More than our friendship? I loved you both. That's what made it so impossible. You didn't love me. My voice was cold now. You don't do this to people you love. Margaret, please. Get out, I said finally. Margaret, we need to talk about this. We need to. Get out of my house. She stood, grabbing her purse, tears still streaming. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. If I could go back. But you can't. So get out. After she left, I sat in the darkness for hours. I didn't turn on lights when the sun went down. I just sat there in the home I'd built, surrounded by photos of a family that wasn't what I thought it was. Emma's baby pictures on the mantle. Jacob's high school graduation photo. David and me on our 25th anniversary cruise. All of it was lies. I thought about my life. Every moment, every memory was now tainted. The births of my children. I'd thought I'd given birth to them, but the hospital records Rebecca had falsified using her legal connections said I was the mother when I wasn't. The surrogacy arrangement that was supposed to help me have children had been a fraud. Their first steps. Their first words. Teaching Emma to read in this very living room. Teaching Jacob to swim at the town pool. Every birthday, every Christmas, every ordinary Tuesday. All of it was built on a lie. That's when the anger came. It started as a small flame, deep in my chest. A tiny spark of rage. And then it grew. And grew. Until it was a raging inferno that consumed every other emotion. The sadness burned away. The shock burned away. The grief burned away. All that was left was white-hot rage. They thought they could do this to me. They thought I would just accept it, move on, keep their secret, protect their reputations. They were wrong. I started by calling my lawyer Martin Chen. I'd known Martin for 20 years. He'd handled our wills, our estate planning, David's business contracts. He was methodical, discreet, and brilliant. Martin, I need you to do something for me. I need you to find out everything about Rebecca Thornton's finances. Her assets, her accounts, her investments, her properties. Everything. Margaret, is everything okay? You sound different. Just do it, Martin. And I need it done quietly. She can't know I'm looking into this. All right. Give me a week. While Martin worked on that, I started going through David's financial records more carefully. Our joint accounts, his business accounts, his personal checking account, everything. What I found made my blood boil even hotter. Over the past 25 years, David had been transferring money from our joint accounts into a separate account. Small amounts at first, just a few $100s here and there. But over time they added up. He'd moved over $300,000 of our money into an account that Rebecca had access to. My inheritance from my parents when they died in 2003, $80,000 that I'd put into our joint savings. The money from selling my grandmother's house, $120,000. Years of my own salary from my job as a high school English teacher. All of it quietly siphoned away to fund his mistress and his secret family. Because that's what they were. Emma and Jacob might not have known it, but they were David and Rebecca's children. Not mine. Martin called me back 3 days later. Margaret, I found something interesting. Rebecca recently bought a house in Vermont. A big place in Burlington near Lake Champlain. Cash purchase, $400,000. The timing is interesting. The purchase was completed 2 months before David's death. Vermont. Rebecca had been talking about retiring to Vermont for the past year. For the peace and quiet, she'd said. Away from the city, near the mountains. I've always loved Vermont. I'd even helped her look at listings online, giving my opinion on kitchens and gardens. Now I understood. She wasn't planning to retire alone. She was planning to retire with David. With my husband. They were going to run away together, leaving me behind with the shattered pieces of a life built on lies. There's more, Martin said. She also purchased the house using funds from an account that received regular deposits from David's business. The paper trail is clear. My money, my inheritance, my years of work, all of it used to buy a love nest in Vermont. I made a decision right then. I called Emma and Jacob and asked them to come over. They arrived together an hour later, concern written all over their faces. They'd been worried about me since the funeral. You seem so distant, Emma had said last week. Like you're here but not here. Mom, what's going on? Emma asked as they settled on the couch. She looked like Rebecca, I realized now. The shape of her face, her mannerisms. How had I never seen it? You've been so strange since Dad died, Jacob added. He looked like David. Always had. That's why I'd never questioned it. I handed them the DNA results. They read them in silence. I watched their faces as comprehension dawned. Confusion first. Then shock. Then horror. This has to be a mistake, Jacob said finally, his voice shaking. This can't be right. It's not a mistake. I had it done twice to be sure. I told them everything. The letters I'd found in David's desk. The affair that lasted 26 years. The money that was stolen from our family. Rebecca's whisper at the funeral. The house in Vermont. All of it. Emma started crying, deep heaving sobs. Jacob went very still, his jaw clenched so tightly I could see the muscles jumping. His hands balled into fists. Aunt Rebecca, Emma whispered. She's our mother? Biologically, yes. And you knew? This whole time? Since the funeral? Since the funeral, yes. They looked at me with expressions I couldn't quite read. Shock, certainly. Confusion. But also something else. Something that looked almost like sympathy. Mom, Jacob said slowly, and I noticed he emphasized the word mom. You raised us. You're our mother. Biology doesn't change that. It doesn't change anything. Emma nodded, wiping her tears. He's right. You were there for every skin knee, every nightmare, every bad grade, every heartbreak. You taught me how to braid my hair. You helped me with my college essays. You held my hand when I had my wisdom teeth out. Rebecca was just the cool aunt who sent expensive presents. You're our mom. You'll always be our mom. I felt something crack in my chest. The first warm feeling I'd had in weeks. I need to tell you something else, I said, my voice breaking. Your father and Rebecca stole from us. They took over $300,000 from our accounts over the years. Money that should have gone to your college funds, your weddings, your futures. They used it to plan a new life together in Vermont. Now Jacob looked truly angry. The muscles in his jaw worked, his eyes hard. Can we get it back? I don't know yet. But I'm going to try. That night, Martin and I strategized. The challenge, he said, is that some of the transfers can be argued as gifts. But the falsified surrogacy documents, the fraudulent birth records, those are criminal acts. And the financial fraud from the business accounts is provable. I filed a civil lawsuit against Rebecca's estate the next week. It was complicated, messy, and Martin warned me it could take years. But I didn't care. I had time. And I had rage. Rebecca tried to fight it at first. She hired an expensive lawyer from Boston, probably with my money. She argued that the money was gifts from David, that she had no knowledge they were from joint accounts, that she'd been as much a victim as I was. He told me the money was from his personal savings, she claimed in a deposition. He said he'd been setting it aside for years. I had no idea it was from marital assets. But Martin was good. Better than good. He found emails between David and Rebecca discussing the transfers. He found text messages about hiding the money. He found a journal David had kept where he detailed the elaborate lies he told me to cover the missing money. Margaret thinks I'm investing in expanding the business, David had written. She doesn't check the accounts carefully. She trusts me completely. That trust is the only thing that makes this guilt bearable. I had the letters. Dozens of letters where Rebecca and David discussed the money, discussed keeping it secret from me, discussed their plans for the Vermont house, for their future together after David retired, and we divorced. They'd been planning to divorce me. David was going to leave me after 35 years of marriage, after I'd raised his children, after I'd devoted my entire adult life to our family. The judge was not sympathetic to Rebecca's case. During the trial, more details came out. Details that made the entire courtroom gasp. The local newspaper covered it. Deceased hardware store owner and lawyer conducted 26-year affair, fraud, read the headline. Rebecca had known I was having fertility issues in the early years of my marriage. The doctors thought I might not be able to carry a pregnancy to term after 2 devastating miscarriages. David and I had been heartbroken, talking about adoption, about being content with just each other. Rebecca, it turned out, had volunteered to be our surrogate. Let me help you, she'd said over wine one night in 1994. Let me give you the gift of a child. You'd be amazing parents. Let me do this for you. I'd cried. I'd hugged her. I'd thought it was the most generous, loving thing anyone had ever offered me. Except she never went through with the surrogacy legally. Instead, she got pregnant by David, my David, carried the baby herself, and then used Rebecca's connections as a lawyer to falsify the birth records. Jacob was registered as my biological child when he was actually Rebecca's. The surrogate paperwork was fake. The agency we supposedly went through didn't exist. The medical records were forged. Every single document was a lie. They did it again with Emma 4 years later. Same fake surrogacy story. Same falsified records. Same devastating betrayal. I'd spent years being grateful to Rebecca for supporting us through our fertility struggles. I'd thought she was being a good friend, helping us navigate the medical system, being there for us. She'd been stealing my husband and replacing my children with her own. The jury deliberated for 3 hours. They awarded me $450,000 in damages. Every penny Rebecca had, plus interest, plus penalties for fraud. But money wasn't enough. Not even close. I reached out to the Massachusetts Bar Association. As a partner in a prestigious Boston law firm, Rebecca had to maintain certain ethical standards. I provided them with evidence of the falsified birth records, the fraudulent surrogacy arrangement, the forged medical documents, the financial improprieties, the lies told to courts and government agencies over 26 years. Rebecca was disbarred within 6 months. The Bar Association's decision was scathing. Attorney Thornton engaged in systematic fraud spanning over 2 decades, falsifying legal documents, misleading courts, and using her position of trust to commit crimes against her supposed best friend. Her actions represent the worst kind of betrayal of legal ethics and human decency. Her Vermont house, the one she'd bought with my money, had to be sold to pay the judgment. The buyer got a good deal. Rebecca was desperate to sell. She lost her partnership in the prestigious firm. They made a public statement distancing themselves from her actions. We are shocked and appalled by the actions of former partner Rebecca Thornton. Such behavior has no place in our firm. She lost her reputation. The legal community is small, and word spreads fast. No firm would hire her. Not after what she'd done. The community that had once admired her, brilliant lawyer, successful career woman, devoted friend, now whispered about her in grocery stores and coffee shops. I heard the whispers. That's the woman who stole her best friend's husband. Can you imagine? 26 years of lies. Those poor kids. She'd gone from respected professional to disgraced homewrecker. But I still wasn't done. Emma and Jacob, after long discussions with therapists and with each other, made a decision. They called me together one evening and told me they wanted nothing to do with Rebecca. We're writing her a letter, Emma said. We want her to know how we feel. The letter was devastating. I helped them write it, though most of the words were theirs. Dear Rebecca, we have learned that you are our biological mother. This information does not change anything except our understanding of your character. You are not our mother. Margaret Hayes is our mother. She is the woman who raised us, who loved us, who sacrificed for us every single day of our lives. You are the woman who betrayed her, who stole from her, who lied to everyone including us for 26 years. You are the woman who thought being a mother meant biology rather than love, presence, sacrifice, and commitment. You are the woman who watched Margaret struggle with infertility and used it as an opportunity to betray her with her own husband. You are the woman who attended our birthdays, our graduations, our weddings, all while knowing you were living a lie that we want nothing to do with you. Do not contact us. Do not try to build a relationship with us. Do not claim any rights to our lives or our futures. You gave birth to us, but you are not our mother. You never were and you never will be. Emma and Jacob Hayes. Rebecca tried to fight for visitation rights after that. Can you believe it? She actually hired another lawyer and claimed that as their biological mother, she deserved a relationship with them. She claimed that I had poisoned them against her, that they would want a relationship with her if I hadn't manipulated them. The judge shut that down so fast it was almost beautiful to watch. Miss Thornton, Judge Patricia Wilson said, her voice icy. You spent 26 years lying to these children. You gave up your right to a relationship with them the moment you allowed another woman to raise them under false pretenses. You made your choice when you decided to conduct an affair with their legal father while pretending to be their aunt. You made your choice when you falsified legal documents to cover up your actions. You made your choice when you betrayed your supposed best friend for over 2 decades. These adults have every right to determine who is part of their lives, and they have made it clear you are not welcome. This court will not force adult children to have contact with a biological parent who has demonstrated such profound moral failings. Request denied. The courtroom applauded. The judge banged her gavel for order, but I swear I saw her smile. Last I heard, Rebecca was living in a small one-bedroom apartment in Worcester, Massachusetts, about 3 hours from Riverside. She was working as a paralegal at a small personal injury firm, making maybe a quarter of what she used to make. Everything she'd built over 30 years of her career, every connection, every achievement was gone. Her friends abandoned her. The professional women's group she'd been president of asked her to resign. The charity boards she'd served on quietly removed her name from their websites. Even her own family was ashamed. Her sister stopped speaking to her. Her elderly mother, when she heard what Rebecca had done, said, "I don't know who you are anymore. Some people in town say I went too far. I heard the whispers at the grocery store, at church, at the pharmacy. Did you hear what Margaret Hayes did to that woman? She destroyed her completely. I mean, yes, what Rebecca did was wrong, but did she really deserve to lose everything? It seems vindictive. But here's what those people don't understand. Rebecca and David didn't just betray me. They didn't just have an affair. They stole 26 years of my life. They built their happiness on the foundation of my suffering, my ignorance, my trust. Every moment I spent raising my children, they knew the truth. Every time I looked at Emma's green eyes and wondered where she got them, Rebecca knew. Every time I confided in Rebecca about problems in my marriage, and oh, I did confide in her constantly, she knew she was part of the problem. Actually, she was the problem. David seems distant lately. I'd say to her over coffee. I feel like he's pulling away from me. All marriages go through phases, she'd say, squeezing my hand. Just be patient with him. He loves you so much. And all the while, she was the reason he was distant. She was the reason he was pulling away. She knew it, and she lied to my face, offering me comfort for a wound she was actively inflicting. Every time David forgot our anniversary, or missed a family dinner, or seemed distracted during our conversations, I blamed myself. I thought I was failing as a wife. I read books about keeping marriages alive. I tried harder, dressed better, cooked his favorite meals, initiated romance. And all along, the problem wasn't me. It was them. They made me a stranger in my own life. They made me doubt my own worth, my own adequacy as a wife and mother. They gaslit me for 26 years. And the children. God, the children. Every time I held Emma as a baby, nursing her, singing to her, I thought I was bonding with my daughter. But she wasn't mine. Every time Jacob called me Mama, in his little toddler voice, my heart would swell with love and pride. But he wasn't mine. Even now, even knowing that Emma and Jacob have chosen me, that they still call me Mom, that they love me as their mother, even knowing all that, there's a voice in my head that whispers, "They're not really yours. You were just the babysitter." That's what Rebecca and David did to me. They didn't just betray me. They made me question the most fundamental relationships of my life. They made me wonder if the 26 years I spent as a mother even counted. So no, I don't think I went too far. I think I went exactly as far as I needed to. About 8 months after the trial, I sold the house on Elm Street. I couldn't live there anymore. Every room held memories that were now poisoned. The kitchen where I'd made thousands of family meals. The living room where we'd opened Christmas presents. The backyard where David had built a swing set for the kids. Emma's childhood bedroom with the fairy princess wallpaper we'd put up together when she was 6. Jacob's room where we'd painted planets on the ceiling when he got obsessed with astronomy. All of it felt like a museum of lies. I bought a small cottage near the coast in Maine, about 4 hours north of Riverside. It's a tiny place, just 2 bedrooms, but it has a view of the ocean and it's entirely mine. No history, no ghosts, no memories of David or Rebecca. Emma helped me move. She packed boxes with me, drove the U-Haul, helped me arrange furniture in the new place. "This is perfect for you, Mom," she said, standing on the small deck overlooking the water. "A fresh start." "I'm sorry you lost your childhood home," I said. "I know that house had so many memories for you." She turned to look at me, her green eyes, Rebecca's eyes, full of understanding. "Mom, those memories are tainted now. I understand why you needed to leave. Honestly, I don't think I could walk into that house again without thinking about everything that happened there. Everything we didn't know was happening there. Jacob and Sarah visited the next month with baby Margaret, my granddaughter, named after me. I hope it's okay that we named her Margaret, Jacob had said when she was born, 6 months before David died. I know it's old-fashioned, but Mom, you're the strongest person I know. I want my daughter to be like you. He'd said that before he knew the truth. But after he found out, he'd called me crying. I'm so glad we named her after you, he said. You're even stronger than I thought. And she's definitely your granddaughter, biology be damned. Watching Jacob with his daughter, seeing the gentle way he held her, the patient way he changed her diaper and warmed her bottle, I saw David. The David I thought I knew. The David who'd been a good father, whatever else he was. Does it bother you? I asked Jacob one evening as we sat on the deck watching the sunset. Knowing that David was the way he was? Jacob was quiet for a long time. Yes and no, he said finally. I'm angry at him. Furious, actually. What he did to you was unforgivable. But he was also a good dad. He taught me how to throw a baseball. He helped me with my math homework. He came to every one of my football games, even the away games that were 2 hours away. He was there when I needed him. But he wasn't there for me, I said softly. No, he wasn't. And I hate him for that. I hate that he put his own desires above your happiness. I hate that he lied to you for so long. I hate that he let you believe you were failing as a wife when the failure was his. Jacob put his arm around me. But I also have to reconcile that the man who hurt you so badly was also the man who taught me to be a good father. It's complicated. Life is complicated, I agreed. Emma came to visit every few weeks. She'd drive up from Boston where she'd gotten a new job at a design firm. She'd bring wine and takeout, and we'd sit on the deck and talk for hours. Have you heard from her? Emma asked one evening. We both knew who her was. She sent me a letter last month, I admitted. I haven't opened it. Are you going to? I don't know. Part of me wants to know what she has to say. Part of me doesn't care anymore. She tried to contact me too, Emma said quietly. Through Facebook. A long message about how sorry she is, how she never meant to hurt anyone, how she hopes someday I'll understand. What did you say? Nothing. I blocked her. I don't need her apology. It doesn't change anything. We sat in silence for a while, watching the waves crash against the rocks below. Mom, Emma said finally. I need to tell you something. My heart sank. What is it? I've been seeing a therapist. To work through all of this. And she's helped me understand something important. Emma took my hand. I spent the first few months after we found out feeling like my whole life was a lie. Like I didn't know who I was anymore. If you weren't my biological mother and Rebecca was, then what did that make me? Was I still Emma Hayes? Was my whole identity based on a falsehood? I squeezed her hand, unable to speak. But my therapist helped me realize that identity isn't about biology. It's about the experiences that shape us, the people who raise us, the love we receive and give. You shaped me. Your patience when I was learning to read. Your encouragement when I wanted to go to art school, and everyone else said I should do something practical. Your strength when Dad died. That's what made me who I am. Not DNA. Tears streamed down my face. I worried that you'd feel like I wasn't really your mother. You're more my mother than Rebecca could ever be. She gave birth to me. You made me who I am. There's a difference. I started painting again. I'd painted in college, before I got married and had children and put away childish things, as I thought of it then. But in my cottage in Maine, with the ocean outside my window and time finally my own, I set up an easel. I painted the ocean in all its moods. Calm and glassy in the morning, rough and stormy in winter, brilliant and sparkling at sunset. I painted lobster boats and seagulls. I painted the lighthouse down the coast. I painted everything except people that I couldn't paint people anymore. Every face I tried to capture seemed to hide secrets. My paintings started selling at a local gallery. Nothing major, just a few $100s here and there. But it wasn't about the money. It was about creating something that was entirely mine. Something that couldn't be taken away or revealed to be a lie. One morning, about a year after I'd moved to Maine, I was walking on the beach when I saw an older woman sitting on a rock, staring out at the water. Something about the slope of her shoulders, the way she held herself, looked familiar. As I got closer, I realized it was Rebecca. She looked up as I approached. She'd aged dramatically in the past year. Her hair was completely gray now, pulled back in a messy ponytail. Her face was lined with stress and grief. She looked like she'd lost weight. She wore a faded windbreaker and old jeans. "Margaret," she said softly. "I could have walked away. I should have walked away. But something made me stop." "What are you doing here?" I asked. "This is my place. My town." "I know. I'm sorry. I needed to see you. To talk to you. I've written you so many letters, but I don't think you read them. I don't expect you to forgive me. I don't even forgive myself. But I need you to know. I need you to understand." "Understand what, Rebecca? That you loved David so much you couldn't help yourself? That the affair just happened? That you never meant to hurt me?" "No, not that." She looked down at her hands. "I need you to understand that I've hated myself every single day for 26 years. Every time I looked at you, every time you trusted me, every time you confided in me, I hated myself. But I couldn't stop. I loved David. I loved those children. And I was too weak, too selfish, too cowardly to do the right thing. The right thing would have been to not start an affair with your best friend's husband. I know. But once it started, the right thing would have been to tell you. To end the marriage before Emma was born. To let you find someone who would truly love you the way you deserved. But I couldn't do it. Because ending the affair would mean giving up David. And telling you would mean losing your friendship. So I just kept going. Day after day, year after year, digging myself deeper into this hole until I couldn't see daylight anymore. That's not an explanation. That's not even an apology. That's just you making excuses. You're right. There is no explanation that makes sense. No apology that's adequate." Rebecca stood up, and I noticed she moved like she was in pain. "I came here to tell you that I'm dying." The words hit me like a physical blow. "What?" "Ovarian cancer. Stage 4. They gave me 6 months to a year. That was 3 months ago." I stood there, buffeted by wind and conflicting emotions. Part of me wanted to feel sympathy. Part of me wanted to feel vindicated. Part of me just felt empty. "I'm not telling you because I want sympathy," Rebecca continued, "or because I think it absolves me of anything. I'm telling you because I don't want to die with this unsaid. I'm sorry. I'm so profoundly sorry for what I did to you. You deserved so much better. You deserved a faithful husband and a loyal friend. You deserved to raise your own children. You deserved truth." "Yes," I said. "I did deserve all of that. I know this doesn't matter now, but David loved you. In his own broken, selfish way, he did love you. He talked about you constantly. Your strength. Your goodness. Your patience. He said you were the best person he'd ever known. And yet he spent 26 years betraying that good person. Yes, he was a coward. And so was I. We stood there in silence, two women who'd once been closer than sisters, now separated by an unbridgeable chasm of betrayal. "I'm glad Emma and Jacob have you," Rebecca said finally. "You're a better mother than I ever could have been. I see that now. Being a mother isn't about biology. It's about showing up every day. About putting someone else's needs before your own. About sacrifice and patience and unconditional love. You did that. I just donated DNA. Is that supposed to make me feel better? No. Nothing I say will make you feel better. I just wanted you to know that I see the truth now. When it's too late to matter." She turned to walk away, then paused. "I hope you find happiness, Margaret. I hope you find someone who deserves you. I hope your cottage by the sea brings you peace. I hope someday the pain I caused you fades enough that you can remember the good times without them being tainted by the betrayal. I hope for all of that, even though I know I have no right to hope for anything." I watched her walk slowly down the beach, a dying woman carrying the weight of 26 years of lies. Part of me wanted to call her back, to offer some word of comfort or closure. But I didn't. Some betrayals are too deep to forgive, even in the face of death. I never saw Rebecca again. I heard from Martin that she died 4 months later, alone in a hospice in Worcester. She left no will, no assets, no family at her bedside. The woman who'd once been a successful lawyer with a prestigious career died broke and alone. Emma and Jacob didn't attend her funeral. "She's a stranger to us," Jacob said. I wouldn't go to a stranger's funeral. I didn't go either. Some mornings, I walk on the beach where I saw Rebecca for the last time. I think about that whisper at David's funeral. "Thank you for raising my children." For little words that destroyed 2 lives, hers and mine. But from those ruins I've built something new. A life that's entirely mine. A cottage by the sea. Paintings that sell at local galleries. Children who chose me, not out of obligation or ignorance, but with full knowledge of the truth. Grandchildren who carry my name. Rebecca meant that whisper as a goodbye to David, a final acknowledgement of their shared secret. Maybe even as gratitude. She probably never imagined I'd hear it. But I did hear it. And that whisper became the catalyst that revealed 26 years of lies. That whisper destroyed her entire life. It exposed her as a fraud, a betrayer, a woman who falsified legal documents and stole from her best friend. It cost her career, her reputation, her connections, her wealth. Everything. And honestly, I'm not sorry. Some people need their lives destroyed before the truth can emerge. Rebecca was one of those people. I'm 60 years old now, 2 years after that September morning at the funeral. I've rebuilt my life from the ashes of betrayal. I've learned that family isn't about biology, it's about choice and love and commitment. I've learned that I'm stronger than I ever knew. I've learned that sometimes the people closest to you are the ones who hurt you deepest. Emma is getting married next year to a wonderful man named Thomas. She asked me to walk her down the aisle. "You're my mom," she said, tears in her eyes. "Biology doesn't matter. You're the one who taught me what love looks like. Real love. Not whatever Dad and Rebecca had. Real love is honest and loyal and present. That's what you showed me." Jacob's daughter is 2 now, walking and talking and calling me Gamma. She has Jacob's smile, and her mother Sarah's kindness and my stubbornness, according to her parents. I'm dating someone actually. His name is Robert. He's a retired teacher who lives 3 houses down from me. We met at a community art class. He knows my whole story. I laid it all out on our second date because I couldn't do secrets anymore, and he didn't run away. "We've all got baggage," he said. "Yours is just more dramatic than most." He makes me laugh. He brings me coffee in the morning. He respects my need for alone time. He's patient with my trust issues. He's kind to Emma and Jacob. He's teaching me that not everyone lies, that not everyone betrays, that some people mean what they say. I don't know if I'll marry again. I don't know if I can. The institution of marriage feels tainted now, like a pretty package that hides rot. But I'm learning to trust again bit by bit. Some nights, I dream about that funeral. I see David in his casket, peaceful and still. I see Rebecca leaning over him. I hear that whisper. But in the dreams, I respond differently. Sometimes I scream. Sometimes I attack her. Sometimes I just laugh. But when I wake up, I'm in my cottage by the sea. The morning light is streaming through my windows. The ocean is crashing on the rocks below. And I'm free. Free from lies. Free from betrayal. Free from a life built on false foundations. They thought they could build their happiness on my ignorance. They thought I'd never know. They thought the secret would die with David. But secrets have a way of revealing themselves. Sometimes in a whispered word at a funeral. Sometimes in the shape of a child's face. Sometimes in the paper trail of stolen money. And when secrets surface, they destroy everything they touch. I survived that destruction. I'm still here, still standing, still fighting, still living. Rebecca didn't. And that, in the end, is its own kind of justice. Did you like my story? And which city are you listening from? Let's meet in the comments. I'm looking forward to your comments on the story. Don't forget to subscribe. See you in the next life story, with love and respect.